Blog Talk Radio.
The motherfucking saga continues.
Yo, what's up, world? It's badass thuggin' like I usually do, and you better turn it up, bust some speakers out, cause we off the motherfucking cuff. You dig how we do it? Dog Pound Gangsters 2000 and beyond. Bleh.
What's up with it, y'all? Man, don't change that down. This your player partner, the legendary Cocaine. And you tuned in live to Offthecuffradio. Better not touch that down.
Yeah, this is Cassidy, the hustler. And right now, you listening to the Guillotine. Show them the respect they deserve, man. Off the Cut Radio, man. Y'all already know how they doing it, man. I need y'all to stay tuned. They've been doing it for years, so show them the respect they deserve. And you heard it out of bars, mouth. Easy.
Keep it moving like this. Yo, this your boy Rampage. You're not rocking with the best. With Off the Cuff Radio. Classic. History. Fix your face to all you haters. We off the cuff, baby.
What's up, everybody? This your girl, Bonnie Dollars, the Queen of Trap, representing Crenshaw, and you are now tuned in with Off the Cuff Radio. What's up? What's up, y'all? This is Miss Irresistible, giving a shout out to the livest show on Friday nights, Off the Cuff Radio, and I'm live from the 704. Make sure y'all tune in for the blazing hot music.
What it ain't, what it do. It's Chili Chill from that original Lynch Mob. And Off the Cuff Radio, always where it's at on Friday nights. West, y'all.
All right, we live at direct at Off the Cuff Radio. I'm your host, King Eric, the Media Assassin, and you're tuned in to one of the best hip-hop shows on the web. Big shout out to my co-host, T-Max. He's going to be joining us after taking care of a little bit of a business. But tonight's guest, we got a dope one lined up, and I'm about to bring him on shortly. Hold on one second. And this show is sponsored by Da Vinci Clothing. It's sponsored by Cocaine Buddy Boy Entertainment. Sponsored by Screwball Radio, which you can check out every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, 8 Central Time. And we back at it, man. I hope everybody's having a wonderful week here. And we're going to be having a lot of shit on place. And tonight's guest, we about to bring on live right now. Standing from Compton, this brother here is an author, real estate.
Can you hear me, good brother?
Hold on, right?
Can you hear me?
Make sure. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
All right, we welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, big shout out to T-Match for making this happen, man. I know we wanted to bring you on because when we had our conversation the other day, there's a lot of game you have to give out and pertain to what's going on with the future of America, economics, gentrification, education. It's a whole lot going on. And alongside, we want you also bring you on to talk about your accolades and what you've been bringing to hip hop culture as well. So until we get started, man, how you doing out there tonight, man?
Man, I'm blacknificent, brother. I'm wonderful, man. I'm wonderful. It's a great day, man. Great time.
That's what it is, man. Hey, man, we blessed out here, man. Had to take care of a long-term grinding week, man. So it feels good to sit down and finally get to do what I love to do, and that's chop it up with you guys right here on Off the Cuff Radio, live and direct every Friday night. And it's a pleasure to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be on, family. I appreciate you.
Yes, indeed, man. So tell us what's been going on with you, man, as of late, for those who's already following you and know already about you. What do you have in store going on from right now going on to the summertime?
Oh, well, I'm working on my documentary, man. I got a documentary about a little bit of my background and a lot of my partners, you know. So from a car builder's perspective of what's been going on with the history of cars. So, you know, y'all keep an eye out for that. You know, follow me on my social media. So when I release it, I'm going to do screenings all over the country. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working on my tour because I'm planning on it being out ready for July, August, you know. So I've been sitting there heavily on the editing mode and pulling out all this B-roll and doing interviews, and man, all around the country, I'm bringing out the top baddest car builders, you know.
Yeah, and tell us go ahead. Yeah, tell us about the process of making this documentary. Like how far in on you on it?
Oh man, this thing been 20 years in the making, man. Probably longer than that. But yeah, I've been, you know what I'm saying, it's just, man, it's something else. You know, I get to covering all these topics, and you know, I want to talk about people who's no longer with us, so that shit can be kind of emotional, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then I'm a real estate person, as you say. I got my best-selling book right here, Monetizing Gentrification, Building Black Ownership. So from a real estate perspective, while I've been working on this book, I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but they came in here and so they say accidentally burnt up a lot of black people's houses in California. A lot of people's houses, over 13,000 houses. So now they coming at me like, man, you've been talking about gentrification, telling us to expect this, and now it happens. So now I've been speaking like crazy, you know. I'm a car builder that want to talk about cars, but I'm very good with real estate, and I can talk about stuff that ain't nobody talked about. So I speak a lot on that topic, you know, because I own the domain gentrification.com, you know, so meaning I knew about this stuff coming so long ago, I was able to grab that up and you know, attach it on my website. So whenever somebody type in gentrification, my name come up, you know, so that we can get the people the real information. So I've been busy, brother, you know, between talking about real estate and gentrification, bringing lowriders to the schools for the kids to see, you know what I mean? And
right.
Dealing with all the politics, man. We got the governor of California trying to ban low riding. So I've been busy, brother. Trying to ban classic cars. My bad.
Yeah, you care to elaborate more on what's going on with that? Because everybody recognizes LA for their car culture, the low riders and things of that caliber. Like, give us an update on what's going on out there for those who's out tuned from the universe.
Well, what's really going on, you got two different stories, but what's the real thing that's going on is years ago when LA, California, I'm from Compton, by the way. Compton, LA, Washington is known for the biggest gangs on the planet. And years ago in the late 80s, they saw us coming together, you know what I'm saying, trying to work this thing out because hip hop was taking off. And we was the ones who was doing car guys were the ones doing all the rap videos and movies. But if I got to worry about my car being shot up, I didn't want to put it in no movie. You know what I mean? So we worked that out. So when they saw us coming together, the government, they stepped in and put a ban on cruising in California. So in the 80s, they banned cruising in California, meaning y'all can't be hanging out with y'all classic cars. So we worked 30 years and got that overturned. So November of 23, we got that overturned, and now we can cruise again. But as soon as we got that overturned, and the government says, okay, yeah, y'all can even do a national holiday, which is in June, I believe it was. Don't quote me on that. But June, July, something like that. But fast forward the story, they turned around, and as soon as we got the ban on cruising overturned, they immediately turned around, and I had me and a bunch of my colleagues, the leaders of the lowriding, we ended up back on Crenshaw, debating with the politicians on us not being able to come out there forced every Sunday down to one Sunday a month, the first Sunday, which is actually this weekend, by the way, if y'all want to go check us out. We can only go on Crenshaw from 12 to 5, one Sunday a month. You know what I'm saying? So that's the politics behind what we're doing, because the reality is that's the wealthiest community in the country, if not the world, of Black people, is the car builders. The guys building the cars, because we build lowriders for kings, princes, doctors, football players, actors, presidents, all types of people globally. You know, I've been shipping lowriders all around the world. You know, me and my guys, we've been doing a lot of amazing stuff, and powers that be don't like that, so they keep trying to stop us. So as soon as we got this overturned and we started back cruising, next thing you know, now the governor of California, Governor Nuisance, I call him Nuisance because he's been a nuisance to us. He trying to pass a bill that wants to ban classic cars. Now you thinking, oh, well, that's going to affect everybody. Well, the law is trying to say in certain areas, but you got to guess what areas is those certain areas going to be? Our areas,
right.
You feel me? Yeah, so they passed laws saying we can't do chrome plating here anymore. And we can't do certain types of paint, lacquer paints, like the candy paint. They didn't want us shooting candies because they knew that makes up the dominant paint that most lowriders got is a candy paint. So they passed laws saying we can't shoot those kind of paints. So they've been trying to dismantle lowriding piece by piece. So that's what made me start working on this documentary. And that's what also made me start reaching out to be on these shows. Big shout out to D and B, you know what I'm saying? Big DC, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Big B, BC, and Derek, D, you know what I'm saying? For making arrangements to make this possible for me to be on the show with you today, brother. But that's just a little bit of what's going on, you know?
That's crazy, man, because the staplement of lowriders is LA culture right there, especially Black culture. Black and all,
Black
Latino culture as well.
Lowriding is Black culture. And it opened the door for us to eliminate gang banging in my age. Now we got Bloods and Crips in the same car club now. We got Bloods and Crips hanging out on Crenshaw every first Sunday. It's normal for lowriders to be out having Bloods, Crips, and Hispanics and Japanese all standing together. So that's definitely a Black culture.
I think it's kind of like a get back at what they would consider rap music at all, because what we know Eazy-E like cruising down the street in my 6'4".
That part right there.
So I think so I think that's their way of, okay, this is our little get back what we gonna do for rap music. Because you know, Black people made so much money and that's inquiring making power moves. So it's like, okay, we're gonna throw little slick laws out there.
Yeah. Because they look at people like me, convicted felon, and been in trouble for doing stupid stuff as a kid, you know what I'm saying? And I almost spent my whole majority, I almost could have did federal time and got locked up forever, but cars saved my life, you know? I was lucky for me that I was able to look at and recognize, hey man, we can afford to live off of the money that we make building these lowriders, building these custom and classic cars. So I was able to go ahead and start it. I became like one of the first people that came out the backyard and had a neutral lowrider shop. I put it in Gardena, California, even though I'm from Compton. Before me, if a person had a lowrider shop, it was a hood shop. You know, this is my neighborhood. This is our shop. You can't come, you know, because you're not from my hood, you know. Or it was a Crip shop, or it was a Blood shop, you know. So I wanted a neutral shop. You know, I wanted a neutral shop, so I moved out of Compton and got a shop in Gardena, California, which was still Crips around me, but it wasn't as heavy as being in Compton. No disrespect to the people in the neighborhood where I was, but it was more of an industrial area. And I made history as being one of the biggest lowrider shops in the world. And by the way, I was just honored and was it 24, was it 2023? I was the first lowrider car builder, that was honored by the hip hop, by West Coast hip hop. So the rappers actually gave me an award and thanked me for my contributions to lowriding and maintaining this industry. And I told them, I felt bad about it because there's so many of us that really is about that life that made sure y'all rappers had cars in y'all videos, So I was able to work it out with the brother who gave it. Shout out to Octavius Miller with the West Coast Hip Hop Awards. And he let me do a panel discussion the following year and gave awards to some of my other car building homies, DJ Vegas, OG Vegas, DJ Vegas, Big Punchy, Taboo, president of the Other Side Car Club. Man, that was a profound thing to be sitting there with some Compton brothers, and we just all got honored and stuff. Compton, LA brothers, Bloods and Crips, by the way, sitting there side by side, and that was major, bro. Because I'm all about making sure we all get to eat and making sure we all get our flowers if possible.
Yeah, because that's like another tool of survival is building businesses and keeping the dollar fluid within the communities because ain't really ain't much bread in the making banging no more. It's kind of like, okay, it's unify and get green now.
Yeah, it's amazing out here, man. The opportunities that lowriding then created, man. It's like, brother ended up with tow truck companies, car carrier companies, paint shops. Man, things I've never imagined owning in my life. You know what I'm saying? I'm a car parts manufacturer. Matter of fact, I manufacture, these are some of the parts I make. I own Loftin and pallet parts, matter of fact. You know what I'm saying? So I manufacture these parts and ship them around the world. These are convertible top cylinder mounts for a 1959 and a 1960 Chevy Impala, which you'll find some of them cars ranging from $150,000 to $400,000. You feel me? Yeah, a lot of people don't know them cars be that expensive. That's one of the top cars. That's why I was like, let me manufacture stuff for those cars. But yeah, it opened the door. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. Now, considering what's going on with the economy and everything, with this whole stuff with the tariffs, how has it been an effect of you business-wise, as putting together low riders and things of that caliber? Is that like another challenge that you guys are dealing with?
Yeah, absolutely. They've been trying to figure out ways to run us out of business for years, and this is a real good one right here because a lot of white folks came in and Asian folks and Koreans started manufacturing car parts for us, and we got used to buying from them because, of course, they're going to be the cheapest. They can out invest into something that we love. Whenever they find anything we love, they're going to invest heavily in it. So they manufacturing way cheaper than us. But now because of the tariffs, a lot of the parts that we need to build the cars are being discontinued. You see what I'm saying? And the more difficult it is to find a car part, the more valuable that part becomes, or the more valuable that car becomes. You feel me? So that's how them 59s just shot up to like where people offering, one of my partners, they offered them like $350,000. Then he said, give me 400. They was like, okay. He said, nah, I don't want to sell it. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is becoming a normal. I'm seeing cars go for $350,000, $400,000, $500,000. So people don't realize just how serious this business is. Your average lowrider from 56 through 64 Chevy, people getting between 75 and up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, painters, man, to paint that 59 that I'm talking about, or a 57 convertible, you're looking at between $50,000 and $60,000 just for paint and metal work. So I made it my mission to go around America and talk about the trades, you know what I'm saying? Because we need more painters, we need more welders, we need more people that know how to do custom interior. My guys, we taking interior out of Lambert Bentleys and stuff and putting them inside of glass houses and 64 Chevys. You know what I mean? I just seen a 57 Chevy convertible with the interior out of I think it was a Corvette or something, a Porsche, something like that. Yeah, they putting all of this. Just the technology just keeps switching up and changing, And it's like we really need help. So when I look at the regular world, the college educated people struggling to find a job that pays enough money that they can afford to live wherever they want to live, the key words there, where they want to live, versus where they can afford to live. And they ain't finding that. So in the automotive world, when you building cars and if you're a specialist in anything, dude, you ain't out here making no $50-$60 an hour. You ain't talking about no $150 an hour. You talking about you successful, bro. You making the high 6 or 7 figures a year easily. Because like I said, we got the paint man. That's like a brain surgeon, dude. These cats got they saying give me $58,000 to paint your car, and I got a waiting list with 2-year waiting list, and I'm already prepaid for 35 cars already. You feel me? Meaning I know what I'm doing, so people pay for my work. So I'm saying while we got people, that's called a master car builder. And I'm what you call a master car builder. So my thing is, I had to come out the industry and start traveling the world and talking to people about the trades and talking about my industry, saying, come over here, I can get you a job. I can help you start a business. I can point you to the money.
Absolutely. And another thing that plays a role too is this AI takeover that they've been pretty much been promoting as well. And that's another part that's going to be playing a role on how we maintain our dollar. We got to know how to be able to utilize that to our advantages.
Well, brother, I'll tell you like I tell everybody else, the real AI is the auto industry. You hear what I'm saying? The real AI that's been around the longest is the auto industry. So I didn't appreciate how they came in and trying to steal our name and tell us, oh, y'all new name is called transportation now. TJ, you a part of transportation. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a part of the AI of the auto industry. You know what I'm saying? I'm a tradesman. I don't know nothing about no transportation, what you talking about. You know what I mean? But that's just a way of them to say, anyway, AI ain't taking none of our jobs, bro. We ain't the classic car industry ain't worried about AI. That don't even faze us. They tell you that, oh man, mechanics we don't need mechanics because AI, dude, that's a lie. That ain't true. You know what I'm saying? That's why our cars cost so much, because we don't have no types of AI. We can't find somebody. We can't find AI is not gonna go dig up a 64 Chevy out the dirt and see all the rust and then decide what needs to be replaced and then what needs to be built and then come up with some amazing ideas that ain't never been done before. That ain't AI. That's TJ and my crew. You feel me? Me and the auto industry, our guys. So we ain't worried about it. So that's why I'm trying to pivot as many people as possible into auto body classes, into paint classes, custom paint classes, into welding classes, things that they gonna always be able to eat. Because I've been doing this for almost 40 years, dude, since I was like a kid. And this business has done nothing but go up. You feel me? It's done nothing but go up and make people wealthy. That's all I've been seeing, We ain't never had no hiccup. It's just continuous to go up. No matter what a house costs. Guys say, oh, the house is $1 million now. Brother, like, oh, I'm going to just go ahead and sell 2 of my cars and pay cash for that $1 million house,
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to brag, just trying to let you know what's really happening.
You gotta put the resume out there to let people know what time it is, man.
Yeah. And it's just like real estate. A lot of people don't realize the plays that's being ran. That's why I was able to write this best-selling book, man. I'm a car builder that done wrote 2 books about real estate, and it blows people's minds. But the reality, what people don't understand is, I've been in brick and mortar since 89, 90. You know what I'm saying? We started off with a small shop and I turned into a lowrider shop. And I've been dealing with since the beginning of the 90s, commercial real estate leases and commercial buildings and buying buildings and renting buildings and selling buildings and getting permits for a building. You know what I mean? So I'm seasoned on real estate, So as a business owner, I realize how the world works, all the sanctions and tariffs that the Trump is talking about. I understand how that works from a business perspective. And I literally just got off the phone arguing and debating with some cats. Normally I don't be debating people, but when you're trying to educate certain people, you need them to understand what's really happening. You know what I'm saying? So I just got off the phone debating with a cat, trying to let them know that these tariffs it's a different play being ran on us. You know what I'm saying? It's like I manufacture car parts overseas. I mean, I manufacture car parts, and the cost of my parts are cheap. Not trying to throw myself under the bus, but let's use Japan for example.
Mm-hmm.
When we stopped buying, let's use China for example. When Trump put the tariffs and said 145% tariffs on China goods, now we find out that those goods we buying from the Louis Vuitton that comes from France is actually being made in China, and they making a $3,000 purse for $30. So now they mad because they can't afford to sell it to us no more. So they say, but they mad because it boils down to that if they paying $30 to manufacture your purse to your door, it's gonna cost in America to the Louis Vuitton store in America. It's gonna be $30 to get it there. From China to there, ready to be sold retail over the counter. It costs them $30, and they sell it to you for $3,000. That's a $2,700 profit. You feel me? So now Trump put these tariffs on there. No love for Trump or none of that. I'm just talking business right now. We're talking business. So now, because of these tariffs, it made the price of manufacturing that purse and getting it to the Louis Vuitton store from $300 to $595, for example, hypothetically speaking, right? So guess what?
Right.
It's still selling for $3,000. That's still a $2,500 profit, right? Hypothetically speaking, you know. So so what Trump is trying to do is make them take the hit. Say, hey, either take the hit or y'all come make it here in America. You know what I'm saying? So the people that manufacture stuff, they want you to believe that, oh my gosh, man, since Trump did that, we're gonna have to charge you guys $6,000 for a Louis Vuitton because our prices went up. Am I making sense, brother?
Absolutely.
You know, so it kind of bothers me that people don't, it's like because they don't know business, they sitting down getting caught up in these Mickey Mouse arguments that ain't true. Who we should be holding accountable is Louis Vuitton and Prada and Gucci and saying, yeah, y'all can afford to take the hit. That shouldn't affect us if y'all want to keep doing business with us. Leave the price at the same thing. In fact, y'all need to drop the price. But no, they want you, they putting fear on everybody. They all American, everybody does is play fear against people. So they'll raise the prices up. So, tariffs, sanctions. It's like, come on, man. It's just a game, homie. They can take the hit on that. It don't cost no $3,500 to make no purse. And China, they gave up the game. Now, I'm glad that I ain't got to try to convince y'all of it. I just say, hey, look at the video. China already telling you they ain't charging no money.
Yeah, it's easy to fool people now because we live in what I consider the soundbite generation now. Because it's easy to fool the gang of masses with just 11 seconds without really understanding business and without really understanding context. And that's how they be able to easily manipulate people.
Right. You know, and that would play the part of me. Once I realized what was going on, homie, I had to start looking. And I realized black folks ain't educated in a lot of topics, and real estate is one of them. Business and real estate is the top two things that we're not, as a people, not educated in. We have been raised to be employee-minded people. And employee-minded people only know about getting a job. You know, filling out an application, and no disrespect. I'm here to help, you see what I'm saying? So I ain't trying to disrespect anyone. I'm just here to help and need people to understand what I'm saying, the words coming out of my mouth. You know, when the person most people were being raised to be employees. I was being raised to be a business owner. You feel me? I came from the streets as a hustler, so I understood buy low, sell high. You see what I'm saying? I want to make a profit, so I need to go to a market where I can get as much as I can. So I was able to turn around and be the first black man to have 2 lowrider shops, and the second person out of lowrider history to have multiple lowrider shops. You feel me? You know, and that's why West Coast Hip Hop decided to honor me, because my name goes so far back as a businessman in lowriding, you know. But now, because I realized the level of entrepreneurship that I've been taught after, you know, almost 40 years, you know, other people don't see it that way. We just now starting to have conversation about international business. You feel me? I've been shipping cars to Japan since 93. You feel me? Something like that, the early 90s. So we ended up going to Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Dubai, Kuwait. You know, we've been shipping lowriders globally for decades, over 30 years. You feel me? So now I'm starting to hear people talk about generational wealth and international business, and I'm like, oh, good, y'all finally catching up. Let me step out here and teach y'all, because that stuff y'all talking about, that ain't what we've been doing for the last 30 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I started creating relationships with the schools, you know, and we was able to do a lot of great work in the community, because I wanted to give back. Me and a lot of my guys, you know, we always didn't like the way hip hop went, and it makes us look. So we wanted to clean up Compton's imagery. So we went and started helping to create schools and giving back to schools, you know. So you'll go on my social media at Thomas TJ Loftin, Loftin, and you'll see me. I'm at schools. I'm talking, reading everything from reading books to kindergartners and giving lectures to kindergartners to at Morehouse College or Clark Atlanta giving lectures. You feel me? I've been at USC. I've been all over the world talking about entrepreneurship, and it's like trying to bring people up to where we can have a like we always have a tier 1 conversation. I call that the ABCs, but I want people to come up to a tier 4 to where we can have some intellectual conversation from a global perspective, not something you saw on the news. You feel me? That's what, like a dude I was just debating with. We were talking about stuff that he sees on the news, or, you know, what's coming out the White House. I'm like, I'm not dealing with what's coming out the White House or what I saw on the news. I'm dealing with people from around the world, you know what I'm saying, that's telling me what they know that's happening and how is it affecting them and what I could do to improve and help them so we could keep making money. You feel me? So I teach people. So, you know, I want to teach people, just like I've been, you know, I used to be Dr. I don't know if you're familiar, rest in peace, ancestor Dr. Sabi. You know, he found out about me. He brought me in to be his wise counsel, meaning I was the head of his advisors. I was his leading advisor. So I was the head of his table. He said, President Obama got a cabinet. I want you to be the lead of my cabinet. You know, so I created and became one of his wise advisors, one of his advisors, leading advisor. I'm sorry. I became his leading advisor. So, you know, I have overstanding from this business. You know, to me, it was just a switch of the product. I went from talking car parts to talking about herbs and commercial real estate. And you know, these herbs are coming from the jungles of Honduras, and these herbs is coming from the deserts of Africa. You know, I talked about global distribution. That's why he brought me on, because I understood the language of being international. I understood the oceans and the times of year. When can you bring a cargo ship through this ocean and blah, blah, blah. So that's why me and him hit it off well. You know, rest in peace, Dr. Sabi, ancestor Dr. Sabi. But
yeah, what is it that you learned? Like, what was some game that you learned from him?
Man, he you know what he told me? He told I learned that health and medical is all man-made stuff. Problems is man-made. All this drama is man-made. Everything can be fixed with something that grows from the earth. So, for example, how he convinced me of that is he asked me. He said he met me where I was and used language that I understood. He said, "So what happened if you get a new car and it's time for you to change the oil, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What if they told you need a new engine every 3,000 miles?" And I said, "I call that some BS." He said, "Why?" He said, "Because all you need to do is change the oil to make the car run forever." And he said, "Exactly." He said, "So you don't need to replace the engine?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, that's what they're doing in the hospitals. They not saying eat right. They saying just replace your heart, just replace your kidneys, just do this. Let's cut you open and do that." And man, it hit me hard. I like, wow, that make a lot of sense.
Oh, man, that medical game is cold blooded, man.
Yeah. So, you know, he turned around, and lucky for me, before I met him, I had an ex-wife, rest in peace. My ex-wife passed away, my first wife, years ago, and I had asthma, and I used to be in the hospital for asthma all the time, right? You know, be wheezing and all kind of stuff. So, oh, wait a minute, let me cut this light on. I'm sitting there in the dark. So all of a sudden, I would, you know, when I met her, I'm 21 years old, and she like, you still got asthma? I'm like, yeah. She said, I'm like, the doctor said I will have asthma until I grow out of it at probably 40, 50 or something. She was like, if I could get rid of your asthma, will you eat anything I give you? I'm like, heck yeah, absolutely. No, she couldn't. Man, this sister took away my dairy products, my milk, my eggs, and all that stuff, dude. My ice cream. And next thing you know, a week later, I didn't need my inhalers anymore. So I was sold. You feel me? Next thing you know, I married that chick behind that. You know what I'm saying? That's what made me marry her, dude. Because, hey, if you can keep me alive, then we definitely need to be married. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. So when I met Dr. Sabi, it made a lot of sense, the stuff he was saying, and that's why I was rocking with him. So I learned about health from Dr. Sabi. I learned that a lot of us think that religiously God calling them home and it's time to go home because God called them. I'm like, nah, you need to have some ginkgo. You know what I'm saying? You need to stop eating them pork chops, and I think you will still be here, you know?
Yeah, especially with the way this food is now, like the way the food industry system is, you know, poisoning a lot of this food now. You know, we ain't trying to get too deep into that because, you know, they are listening, so to speak. But, you know, I had to keep it real, you know, touch it to the basis of that, because that's another thing that need to be promoted more, is also health, because you don't have a healthy mind, your business ain't going to be in order.
You know, you real talk, dude, and that's why when I was so thankful that I met my first wife, rest in peace, Tanja, by the way. That, man, when I met her and she took me off all them, all that meat and all that, we became vegans and stopped eating meat and all that type of stuff, dude. Immediately, my focus was, I went from a butter knife way of thinking to a razor blade way of thinking. I was like, whoop. And it was over with. You know what I'm saying? I could focus. I was razor blade sharp. You know, I see cats after 25 years and be like, man, you still owe me $385.17, homie. You look at me and fall out like, man, I got that receipt in my pocket. You are absolutely right. You remember that from 25 years ago? I sure do. Can I get mine now? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it had me, if I wasn't a vegan, homie, I wouldn't have been able to do all the stuff that I did. You feel me? Because a lot of people wonder, how did you run two lowrider shops and supply hundreds of lowrider shops around the world? How did you run all these tow truck companies, moving cars from coast to coast, you know, picking up cars out of the jungle, out of the forest in North Carolina, and get them back to Compton or Gardena, where my shop was, in Palmdale, or shipping cars to Florida? You know, how you do all of that? It was like, dude, I was a vegan. Because I was razor blade focused and I remembered everything, you know. Am I still like that now? Not really. You know, I didn't fell off some. I ain't gonna lie, man. But yeah, it was health, man, that did that for me. But like I said, that's why I travel around the country, man. And I partnered with the Compton School District. We was able to go back in there and upgrade that school. You know, got $10 million from Dr. Dre back in those days. And totally redone my auto shop classes at Centennial High School and Dominguez High School. And then later on, I would do field trips with them. You just look on my pages, you'll see me taking the kids on field trips, dude, to lowrider shows, to all type of stuff, you know, that's car related. You know, I wanted them to go other places than just go to see what does college look like. You know, I want them to know about wealth building. I want them to know that, hey, we make more than just $20 an hour over here. We over here got millionaires and billionaires in this industry. So I had to program them teach them to think that way, you know, to know that that's true, to know what stuff costs, you know. So we came back and they turned around and stayed with Dre and turned around. Now we rebuilding high schools in Compton. We tore down Compton High School where Dre used to attend and rebuilt it, and it'll be open next year. And next year they come into Centennial High School and tearing it down, and we're gonna rebuild that one. And once that's finished, we're gonna tear down Dominguez High School and rebuild that one. So when I think about people say, "Oh, we helping the community and all that," hey, homie, the bar in my community way the hell through the ceiling, way over here. You know what I'm saying? So the stuff I see from a national perspective, I be like, I don't know what y'all doing over there, but that ain't what I consider help. You feel me? You over here teaching people how to fill out an application and teaching people how to, you know what I'm saying, do all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, we over here teaching people how to start businesses and create jobs in our communities, you know, and make sure we get the right information. So that's what I think. We need to raise the bar and get on this real world information and stay out of this nonsense. Quit listening to the news and let's make news, you know?
Facts. What's good, T?
What's going on, gentlemen? Sorry for my tardiness.
What's up, good brother?
Going on, big bro. First off, I gotta say, shout out to BC for making this happen. I know this conversation
right there, BC.
Yes, man. B, thank you so much. I know this conversation has been incredible, insightful, and most important, educational. I was listening to what you were saying about how you were rebuilding the school. Shout out to Compton Dominguez, where Tyson Chandler went, NBA pro and NBA champion as well.
Most deaf.
When you think about it, TJ, when you talked about the empowerment of where we are, especially as African Americans in America, and in terms of it across the board about how America, it's crazy what you said about how to be entrepreneurs, because that crosses all racial lines. And it's funny because we think about what John D. Rockefeller once had a famous quote, "I don't want thinkers, I want workers." What is the most important thing that we have to understand as a people about understanding the power of entrepreneurship, and most importantly, the discipline behind it in terms of understanding what it entails being a boss and how to maintain your personal enterprise of excellence and excelling in that excellence?
I'm sorry, you asked, that was a question for me, good brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is the importance behind entrepreneurship and excelling it?
Mm-hmm.
To me, the importance is community. You know,
right?
It's community. We need everybody to support, you know, which is why, no disrespect to anybody, but which is why I don't share the same views about Martin Luther King that most people share, because he came with that separation stuff, saying it's okay to go give your money to the white businesses. You know what I mean? Wear your Louis Vuitton and your Gucci and all that stuff. When I grew up, we had high tolerance of gang violence, so I had people with me because, let me rephrase that. I grew up, homie, we was the only ones that did that. So I was able to benefit from the works of being the only one who did something. You feel me?
Right.
There was no white folks that knew how to do what I did, if that makes sense. So
right.
I reap great benefits of wealth. I helped to build out a whole economy. You know what I'm saying? We bought all the apartment buildings around our businesses. We bought the houses. We bought commercial buildings. We created unlimited amounts of jobs. You know, I would always give tow trucks to my partners that would get out of jail that came to me looking for money. I'd be like, I ain't got no money to loan you, but I can give you a job. And you know what I'm saying? And we talking about after 20, 30 years of doing that, now we got black people own the biggest tow truck companies in America. You know what I'm saying? Of shipping cars coast to coast. You know what I'm saying? Now, black folks owned a lot of paint shops, muffler shops, transmission shops. We got, we had a whole industry because there was no competition. Now, 30 years later, other races have stepped up and trained, like the Hispanic community saw, oh wow, black people are making all this money off of lowriding. So they told their kids they skipping college and they going straight to paint classes. They're going straight to auto body classes, straight to welding classes. So now when you look at those industries, they dominate those industries. And when they dominated those industries, they trying to phase out African Americans so that they can be the ones that if African Americans if the black folks can't have no lowriders ready for the next movie, the next video, the next commercial, et cetera, the next museum, then they're going to turn around and give it to the Hispanics, right? So now the Hispanics have tried to blackball us and lock us out. They're trying to lock us out of history right now. So that's been my fight, is to fight for that. So it is very important that black people keep the money in the community, because when you look at me, you look at my page, You ain't gonna see me sitting in my Rolls Royces and Ferraris and none of that stuff. You gonna see me dragging a bunch of kids into the museum to look at wealth. You're gonna see me taking a bunch of kids to the Pomona Raceway to see the multi-million-dollar pilot mechanics that's working on race cars. You know, I'm traveling around the country, granting exposure. I'm creating jobs and helping to protect the industry so that we can have somewhere to work, so that we can have somewhere to sell our products through. You know what I'm saying? So that we can have somewhere to feed our families. You know, I'm trying to protect that industry. So it's critical that y'all support us. You feel me? Support me. So it's critical that I support y'all. You know, people looking at me like, man, why don't you go on the bigger show and all that? No, that brother may be where he at today, but tomorrow, shit, I hope he answer the phone because he be so big. You know what I mean?
Man, and it's that type of spirit of community and reaching out that humbles us because of people of distinguished and impeccable and extraordinary character like yourself to give your time and your wisdom. You mentioned Pomona. Shout out to the legends above the law. Rest in peace.
Sure, the home.
KMG and Gomac. You know, we had Big Hutch. For those that are really in their deep hip hop dives, if you listen to Forever Witch Thugs, released in 1999 on Westworld Records, they have a skit where they're talking about the Black empowerment in the community, you know, and about how we build up our own.
Right.
You know, and that's of the utmost imperative of how we are able to sustain our own economic infrastructure. What you show them, TJ, in terms of the children is priceless, because athletics is great, music is great. But when you look at the odds of where a lot of those young people are going to get to in that aspect, everybody is not going to make it. And we need to show them a more practical, more beneficial, and a more lucrative way that no matter how old you get, you can still exercise that, and there's nobody going to be trying to push you out because of some preconceived notion of a status quo of age limitations in the culture. We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need scientists, we need mechanics, we need people in these places. We need representation to show our next generation of young Black women, you know, women and men, boys and girls, that we not only have the intelligence, we have the history behind us that shows the pedigree of our achievements, but that we can continue that lineage of greatness and legendariness.
Exactly. You know what I appreciate about, that's been one of the best things that ever happened to me, is being in the Black business community. Mm-hmm. You know, I would go, when I pivoted into an author, you know, when I pivoted into a community person, I helped one of my partners start a school, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I'm big on that. I've been in the community around a lot of startup schools that, you know, have my hands on it all over it, trying to make sure it's open. And when my boy, so I would have a lot of meetings at my favorite restaurant, Simply Wholesome, here in LA. You know what I'm saying? And when I would go there, I would have a lot of consultations where people was paying me to come talk to me and pick my brain. And so my people would see me in there, always on the patio, every day on the patio, talking to somebody different. They signing, filling out, typing on the computer. And they was like, TJ, why don't you give a class on the patio? Or you should write a book. And I'm like, what? Write a book? You know, they kept, TJ, you need to write a book. And why don't you start having some classes on our patio? You could use the patio. You know, we can get about 50 people out there. And I'm like, wow. I had been eating there all my, over 30 years. I ain't never seen nobody on the patio doing nothing outside of restaurant stuff. You feel me?
Right.
So man, they turned around and created a poster for me and said, TJ gonna be here. Dude, when I tell you, that was like the biggest endorsement I got, because that patio, that restaurant sat at the base of the wealthiest Black community in America, right down the street from the Marathon where Nipsey Hussle was at, you know? Mm-hmm. And now you got people coming in there with money and wealth, like, oh, wow. You know, so then when I dropped my book, they like, TJ, we need you on the patio. We need you doing the book signing, man. Now I'm doing book signings and people from up on top of that hill, like showing up, blowing mind, pulling up in big cars, like wealthy people. And I'm just sitting there like, now I got wealthy people endorsing me in my book, you know, all because of the relationship from this restaurant, you know, and all over the country, it's been like that. When I go to Atlanta, I'm at Tassili's. Tassili turned around and found out about me and what I was doing, said, you need to be upstairs giving lectures and doing book signs, talking about your book. Can you sit on the porch and let people know about your book? And I'm like, wow. So next thing you know, Tassili is honoring me in her backyard, giving me an award, you know, and I'm just sitting there like, that's all Black business. Black business saying, we recognize you as a real one. We need other people to know who you are. So come here. We having an event. We want you to be the keynote, or we want to honor you. We're going to give you an award. And I'm just sitting there. So I've greatly benefited from Black businesses, man. And all that stuff the other dude, the comedy dude, or whoever he was talking about not supporting Black businesses, please.
You know, and that's something where I find that discouraging because number one bad apple is not indicative of the whole batch of a bountiful harvest. And at times I think, as much as I love being Black, as much as I love what Black culture is, and I love my Black brothers and sisters, I just have an issue sometimes with this fixation and this romanticism of negative ass, ratchet ass fuck behavior that a lot of us have in terms of how we always want to get out and down somebody. You know, it's like, we don't need to know that there's going to be situations where the business is janky. We get that. How about we highlight the businesses that are actually thriving, that are actually ethical, and most importantly, empowering the very community that they serve.
Absolutely. I say.
Growing up in okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say this too. I think the reason why they do that is because there's a material gain behind downing your own people.
Yeah.
You get benefits, you get endorsements, you get propped up a little bit more. But you can't go over there down in their people, or you'll be out of the whip.
You know, you are absolutely right. And that's how you can tell who's getting where their money come from. When you talk to me, you can tell TJ ain't got no white sponsorship. I don't have white sponsorship, so I say what the hell I want to say. But a cat like that, he got white sponsorship, so he's gonna say that. He's gonna defend his white money because he don't want his white money to back away. So that's what people need to realize. So when I would go, I remember one day I went in Simply Wholesome, and it was one table that people didn't want to sit at because the table was rattling. It was like just wobbling back and forth every time you said something on it, right? You know what I did, y'all? I flipped that table over, and I'm sitting in the lobby working on the table, screwing the legs back, trying to make sure they was lined up so the table would stand up evenly. And they looked over and said, man, that's TJ over there taking the table apart. And the owner came out and said, man, he know what he's doing. Leave him alone. And all the people in the room looking like, instead of this cat sitting there complaining about the unsecured tables and it's raggedy, blah, blah, blah. That brother, I took time out of my day and told my client, hold on, let me fix this table right quick. And that's why a lot of people believe I own that restaurant. But no, I don't own that restaurant. I just got love for that restaurant. So I'm not going to allow anything to happen that's going to hold them back. So if I got to take 7 minutes out of my day to fix their table so all their patrons can sit wherever they want to sit and not have to worry about a raggedy table, then I'm going to do that. And next thing you know, guess what? My meal was free.
But what does that say about
don't even worry about me.
But what does that say about getting up? Because most people are content to complain rather than exercise participation. You know, and for you to take that personal incentive, the personal initiative to see a problem and remedy it, that's called being, in the words of Woody Page from Around the Horn, solutions oriented. And so many of us are always complaining and belly aching and bemoaning, but nobody wants to get out. I like, okay, we got enough problems. How are we going to solve the problems? Let's get solutions.
Too much work. Too much work for people.
Man, I'm so heavily involved in the community, man. It's like just like with the schools. I saw the schools was broken. Y'all don't hear me sitting here complaining about it. Y'all heard what I said. We reached out I was fortunate to be able to be a part of a group of Compton people that came back and we helped to rebuild Compton. You feel me? And we said, look, there's some problems in our community. People leaving out the neighborhood to go all the way on the other side of town to go get something to eat. No, let's do that. Like one of my homeboys, rest in peace. You know, he had one of the restaurants in Compton. Man, people see me sitting up there helping out with that restaurant. I had an office up in there. They're like, man, you own this? I'm like, nah, this is my homeboy. He passed away. So until they figure things out, I will be here running this for a minute, trying to make sure the doors stay open and people keep coming. You feel me?
Absolutely.
So I'm all about business, man. I don't care if I know you or not. You know, I'm just like people didn't know me, and I would not be here today, homie, if it wasn't for the community. White folks didn't help me become successful. It was our people. So anybody who would say something like that, money don't come from black people.
And that's something that people have to understand. When King started Off the Cuff Radio, because he hated the way journalism was being reported, and he started this because he felt like he could be a voice with his excellent and impeccable background in journalism and street team work. It's already been 11 years now since Off the Cuff has been on the air. I've been part of it.
That's what I'm talking about. Congratulations,
you know,
man.
and I've been part of it for the past 8. You know, so it's like, you know, and he gave me an opportunity. Him, Sandman, and Chinchilla. I can't thank them enough for giving me an opportunity. But that's how we uplift each other. When you're looking at it growing up, you were born and raised in Compton, and everybody knows the history. Compton is divided to 2 points, the east side and the west side. In terms of how you come up, I mean, we know the storied history of the streets, of music, of business, of politics. You all have a rich history in the CPT, City of Champions indeed. What does that mean, understanding what you represent for your hometown locally, California, on a national scale, and the world globally?
Oh, sorry, brother. I'll be blanking out. You said, what does being from Compton mean to me?
For you being there, from being born and raised locally there, California geographically, and of course the world internationally.
What does it mean to me?
Yes, sir.
You know, it's quite interesting that you asked that question, because, you know, I found out that, you know, people pay people to say they from Compton.
King, we about to catch one here.
Man, we got rappers, bro. We got rappers that ain't from Compton that's paying people to say they from Compton. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna name no names.
Right,
but
right.
I'm letting you know, singers that's not from Compton that's saying they from Compton. You know, because of our legacy in hip hop,
right?
You know, it made Compton a global brand, but it was not necessarily the it was not necessarily the rap. It was the lowriders. That's what people don't realize. So when NWA, like you said earlier, Eazy-E was rapping about his 64 Chevy, and the world wanted to know, what the hell is that? What is, excuse my question, what is a 64 Chevy?
It's off the cuff. Say whatever you like.
Okay, you know, what is a 64 Chevy? So they necessarily, no disrespect to my people, Easy or nobody, but they was like, man, they watched those videos over and over and over and over and over again, because not because of, oh, that rap was dope, let me rap that. It was like, what the heck kind of car is that? That car just jumped off the ground in the front. Man, it threw up on 3 wheels. So they would watch the videos over and over and over and over and over again, until now all of a sudden the rappers became top rappers, you know? But the reality was, it was the cars. And next thing you know, the New York rappers realized, they said, wait a minute, the rap ain't all that great. It's no disrespect, but it's the cars. We need to buy some lowriders and put in our videos now. So from a perspective of that, those cars made us global ambassadors, you know? So I felt like if I'm going to represent Compton, you know, I'm going to represent it in the right way. Just like I want my daughter or my children to leave the house, y'all represent the Loftin brand. So you better deliver and come back with nothing but the utmost respect for this name that you're wearing, you know? So because I wear that Compton badge on my shoulder, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna represent it. I'm not out here gang banging and bragging about what gang I used to be from. I'm talking about how we went back and rebuilt our community. So if you want to brag, I'm gonna brag about the schools. I'm gonna brag about what we did at the school. So when I'm traveling around the world or the country or wherever I'm at, you know, people honestly they know my name too. Because I've been in Lowrider magazine, Lowrider Japanese, all these magazines I've been in is known globally. They're globally. So when I say if you in Paris, France, and you meet a guy say I've been lowriding for over 30 years, you ask him, do you know TJ from Express Gold Plating, Motor Suspension, or Compton Wire Wheel? Dude, they might take you out to lunch or something. They're gonna adopt you all of a sudden. You with them. You know what I'm saying? They like, yeah, I bought my first car from him 35 years ago. You know, I bought my first set of Daytons from him 38 years ago, 32 years ago, you know. My name is known around the world. They be like, Compton TJ? Yeah, I know him. You know what I'm saying? Because my name is Lowride, and there's TJ, and there's Young Hog. You know what I mean? So,
I think the first time I saw Lowrider in terms of actual rap videos, had to be in 1991 with NWA's Always Into Something. You know, when they went to that, when they went to the Jamaican break when he was doing the chant over it. And of course, when we ran the ad from when King ran his and when I ran mine on my page, I had to put in King T's Dippin'. To me, that was there was no other song that I could use but that.
Let's go dippin'.
Yeah. When you think about the lowriding culture, how you got into it, I mean, there's no half stepping with it, like Big Daddy Kane said. What's the entry level? Because we know after the entry level, the money is just exponentially out of this world when you're really getting down on it.
Yeah,
what's usually the entry level for somebody who's just trying to start out with one in terms of the basics?
Man, you can spend $30,000 trying to get a basic car,
right?
Unless if you build one from scratch. Mm-hmm. Because we've pushed the cost of classic cars up so expensive, you know, meaning we into green, we pushing green, meaning we don't throw nothing away, we restore it, you feel me?
Right.
So the lowrider community is the biggest restorers on the planet, you know, because we kept Chevrolet being thrown to the junkyard. We restored most Chevys out of the junkyard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And because the lowrider becomes so expensive now, you know, the G bodies are super expensive, which blows my mind. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, but I understand the economics behind it. I understand the social and economic effects of lowride. That's why I created that lecture and presentation where I talk about it. But now that a lot of people are being priced out, they can't get a RAG 57 or RAG 64 Chevy or even a RAG 65 Chevy. So now they got to go to a brother and buy a G body, you know, or buy a box Chevy. You know, go to one of my homeboys and have him cut the top off of it and make that a convertible, and you probably can do that for about $30,000 or something like that. You know, but to go buy a RAG Chevy, you're looking at minimum $75,000, and you might need some work. You know, so but I tell people all the time, I said, low riding is no longer a poor man's sport. At all.
That part.
It's a sport of the wealthy. You know what I'm saying? When you see a $75,000 lowrider going down the street, he ain't making payments on that. You feel me?
Right.
He don't have you'll never see that get repossessed because it's paid for. You know, 9 times out of 10, it's paid for. Unless they came up with some new twist, he didn't borrow money from the bank on that car, which people do that. You know, they do appraise these lowriders now. Bank will loan you money. Matter of fact, that's what I talk about people about credit. You don't necessarily have to have good credit. You just have to have something to buy a home. You just have to have something that's worth something.
Right,
so if I got a car that's worth $400,000 and I'm in Atlanta and I don't have the money right then and there, I'm gonna take the pink slip to my RAG 59 down there to the bank and say, can y'all get this appraised? I want y'all to hold on to this. I need the money to buy that $500,000 house. This car worth $400,000. They're gonna be like, done deal. You know, no problem. You know what I'm saying?
This is big boy game he's giving y'all right now. We don't look. Everybody can't play on that side of the on the yard. So
that part right there, what brother say? You might learn something if y'all listen up. You might learn something. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
lowrider guys, classic car guys, 9 times out of 10 of those guys don't invest in stocks. I'm gonna say that again. 9 out of 10 lowrider guys do not invest in the stock market because we know there's more money in the classic car industry. Meaning, you can buy a car for $500 today that you just found out in the middle field in back Mississippi is that got a little rust in there and a possum and a dead snake in the trunk. You know what I'm saying? And bring that car. If you find it and the person don't know what they got, it's worth a little bit of nothing. They may just ask you to clean their yard up and you can have that car. So now that car that you could have paid $800 for, hypothetically speaking, you get it back to Compton, that thing worth $100,000.
Shit.
You know what I'm saying?
And you got some boys out there got it to pay it.
Yeah, and then you still got to pay $100,000 to restore it. You see what I'm saying? So it'll be worth $300,000 and $400,000. You know what I'm saying? So what I tell people all the time, you know, the best investments to me is car investments, and that's why you don't hear people talking about that outside of me. I might have been the first one y'all ever heard to say something like that, but white folks know that. That's why we have the cats out there in Dubai coming out here buying up, stockpiling all these classics. You got the guys from Qatar coming out here. You got white folks coming out here buying up all our cars and stockpiling them because they know if they short the market, meaning buy up everything they can get, and the less inventory that's on the street, the more the prices go up. So I tell people all the time that a car that you, like right now, they tell you got people literally out there teaching. That's what pisses me off when I look at these investment guru conferences they be having. These brothers be on social media talking about buying a car is a bad investment. Buying a house is a bad investment. That shit pisses me off because that's a lie. Buying classic cars is a great investment. It's better than stocks. I'm gonna say it again. Buying classic cars, most classic cars, like, let me be specific, because you're gonna have somebody say, I got a Ford Pinto back here and it's not worth anything. Well, that ain't a classic car. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about if you in Chevy Impalas or Chevy Bel Airs from 55 all the way to 64 Chevy or all the way to 84. You know, you start talking about box Chevys and all of that, them cars is worth a lot of money. So if you buy it and put it in your garage, in 10 years, it's going to be worth a whole lot more money. You see what I'm saying? Like if you bought a $400,000 57 convertible, fixed up, totally hooked up, been in so many videos, you pay $400,000 for that car. You stick that sucker in the garage, and in 5 years, it's going to be worth $1 million.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because all these... Go ahead, brother.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, and you're absolutely right because it appreciates. I saw a picture with Herbie Hancock, what I believe was 1962. He had a Shelby GT, and he bought that car initially for $8,000, and $6,000 of it, I think, he used for he had got some royalties off of one of his albums, and that's what he used to buy it. And then he used that as a down payment, and then I think he borrowed the rest. And you figure those Shelby GTs are classics. Yeah. That car is probably worth damn near $500,000 today.
Man, they got cars that I was in a museum there. And I was looking at a car that was worth. They offered him $40 million. $100 million. He turned it down.
Good Lord.
Yeah, Ralph Lauren owned. I forget the car it was.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It was that Ferrari. It was that Ferrari, as a matter of fact.
Whatever it was, the owner of Ralph Lauren owned it. And they offered him $100 million, and he said, "No, thank you." So that means
Ferrari.
It's worth over $100 million.
I saw the IG post about that. It was a Ferrari that he owned.
And see, that really.
Go ahead.
That's really disturbing. That me and you, we know about such things, but the masses of our people don't. And then you got the biggest people in our community talking about generational wealth and wealth building is telling you to go invest in the stock market. You know what I'm saying? That's all they talk about is stocks. But the reality, what people need to understand is people get paid to go in our community and disinformation us. You feel me? So they telling you to invest in stocks. And I want to throw that out here real quick. They telling you to invest in the stock market because they don't want you to, and they get paid to make sure you don't invest in real estate. So if you got these guys with all these followers and subscribers on their YouTube page and their TikTok page, and they got all these thousands and thousands of subscribers, that leads you to believe they smart and they know what they talking about. So you want to go buy some stock. But the reality is the people they telling you to buy stock from are the biggest gentrifiers in the world. Apple, Google, Facebook. People buying their stock, and man, I can show you in Compton where Google bought the Jordan Down projects and gentrified a lot of people up out of there.
They bought Jordan Downs.
They bought the Jordan Down projects and tore it down to the ground. You can Google it because they ain't showing it in the news. You know what I'm saying? And they turned around.
Well, Jordan Downs, that's where they shot. That's in Watts. That's where they shot Menace to Society. That's where they shot Menace. Yeah. Exactly. And I heard they were tearing it down, but I didn't know Google owned it.
Yep. Google came back to the state. Google created a relationship with the state, and the state got all these projects that set on large amounts of land. Just like when I was in DC, I was in I was speaking out there at the Black College Expo because they pulled me on. I travel with them from time to time, and I'm in DC, man, and I'm standing there inside of a brand new convention center in the middle of the city, that was old, but it's a brand new city emerging out of an old city. And I'm like, what the hell? They said, oh, that used to be the projects, 47 acres. Now they got brand new high rises sticking up out the ground. And that's another reason what made me write my book. I'm like, man, buy this book because the stuff I seen from a national perspective was unprecedented. You know,
tell us about your transitional author, because you're an ace mechanic, great guy, devoted dad, influencer, and we add author to those accolades. Tell us about the process in terms of where you started writing those books.
Well, because of my knowledge so I run the whole industry. I'm the voice of low riding. So I would help a lot of people start businesses. I've helped over 100 people start successful businesses and indirectly helped thousands. So I guided a lot of people into low riding and classic car restoration. So I had to know what's going on with the real estate because we were only unlike today where everybody got a website or a podcast. You know, we don't have the privilege of being on social media. We got to have a brick and mortar. So I'm like a brick and mortar guru from Dylan. When you throw 30 years on anything, you're going to become a guru. You feel me? Because you're going to know a lot about it. So because me knowing all about this real estate, man, I lost my thought.
You said because you knew about the real estate because placement and location is key in terms of whatever infrastructure and enterprise you're trying to get.
Right. You asked me how did I become an author. So fast forward the story. I deal with so much real estate. I met some billion-dollar black land developers. They realized because of the gentrification going on in California, I started traveling the country just in case they was successful with kicking low riding out of California. So I started traveling the country trying to figure out what's a good state for us to go. You see what I'm saying? Where can we go and set up shop and start paint shops and muffler shops, transmission shops, hydraulic shops, and manufacturing facilities in low riding, and the city's not going to bother us. You feel me? So I did 26 states researching and looking, and my land development buddies was like, they know people like me normally work for corporations like Amazon, for example.
Right.
Because I can go around the country and tell Amazon, okay, there's a booming city because in the next decade, this small city in Georgia is going to be worth billions of dollars. So right now, houses are $15,000, but in the next decade, they're going to be worth $800,000. So it'll be great to put a Walmart or put an Amazon, blah, blah, blah over there. So I was able to do that for low riding. So I got relationships with development people, billion-dollar land developers. You know what I'm saying? So they showed me a few things. But fast forward the story, I was in Maryland with one of my land development homeboys, and we were standing on top of the hill at the MGM Hotel in the Dollar, what we call the Gaylord Hotel, black owned hotel, which most people don't know is black owned. You know, we over there in Maryland. They just built the Gaylord. They built Robert Johnson one, and so BET built a hotel, Marriott, and the MGM was there, and my boy looked over this small black city, and he said, TJ, these people about to be wiped out, and they don't even know it. He like about 75 years old. He like, they don't even know it. They about to be wiped out. We about to buy all this stuff up around here, and they're done. And I'm like, man, did you tell anybody? Like, no. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, let me write a book about this. You know, let me write about a book about all of this stuff that's going on, because people don't understand what's happening right now. You know, when them boys up in Silicon Valley in Northern California decided their stuff it's too expensive. So a lot of those employees started moving away. Like, for example, the guy who owned TikTok, he used to work up there with Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. And when it became so expensive, he decided to move away, and he started TikTok. So that was not a one-time thing. That was normal. So when you got a bunch of smart people, the world's smartest people who work for somebody, decide to start quitting, then they start sweating. So my point is, they started telling people, hey, don't leave. Don't leave. We're about to move. We're about to expand down into LA. And you can get a house on the beach for like $700,000-800,000 back in the late 80s, the early 90s. You feel me? Mm-hmm. So they started bringing them out there, and now they had a bunch of swampland out there, and now they done bought it all up and fixed it up, and now they call that Silicon Beach. And you'll see signs that said a condo, get a 2-3 bedroom condo in your low $3 millions. You feel me? Mm-hmm. Because they've been there for so long, now the prices have skyrocketed. But what I'm trying to say is, because of that, they've decided that, you know what, the tech companies make more money than the film companies. You feel me? So now they've decided that they want to get rid of Hollywood. So now, yeah, that's what's going on. They're getting rid of Hollywood, and they're pushing the price of houses up. So now a lot of black people are taking their gentrification dollars. They paid over $12,000-15,000 for a lot of these houses back in the days in Compton. Now them same houses worth $800,000-900,000. So those people are getting that gentrification money and moving away, moving to Texas, moving to Las Vegas, moving to Atlanta, Georgia, so forth and so on, South Carolinas and stuff like that. So now the people who said we ain't leaving, we're good, we ain't going nowhere. They really going out of their way to get them out of here. So like now they want Hollywood, and Hollywood sits on the most prime real estate in America. You see what I'm saying? So what Hollywood is doing, what they doing is they saying, oh, we accidentally just burnt down Pacific Palisades, one of the wealthiest cities in America. You see what I'm saying? Now they didn't turn around and hit them with the same situation that happened in Hawaii. They just pulled that on Pacific Palisades. So now who owns the houses in Pacific Palisades? Hollywood people. The majority of the people that own those houses were Hollywood people. But now when they go rebuild, we talking about houses that's going to be worth upwards of from $500 million to $1 billion.
Whoa!
Yes. So if you look it up, if you look up Hollywood, if you look up Jay-Z and Beyonce, I'll give you a good example. Look, Jay-Z and Beyonce bought one house, and it was on the market for like 4 or 5 years, and they had $50 million and couldn't find nothing. So then all of a sudden they had to raise their budget to $90 million, and the guy who wanted $125 million for a house, he wanted to meet Jay-Z. He wanted to meet Beyonce and Jay-Z, so he agreed to sell them the house for $90 million. So now that was years ago. Since then, Jay-Z and Beyonce then bought a more expensive home now. You see what I'm saying? But my point is, the average, because of all the tech billionaires moving to Southern California, and they want that prime real estate sitting on top of a mountain looking over the ocean, they want that real estate. Now the houses are starting to go for you. When they rebuild them houses, it's going to be $500 million to $1 billion, because them tech billionaires, to drop $1 billion on a house ain't nothing to them.
That's gonna be crazy because one thing about it, we don't levy accusations, but we also look at the how you say the convenience of how calamities happen, and what you said coincides, because that's something me and my bro we were talking about in terms of the scale and our hearts and prayers go out to those loved ones, to the people who lost their loved ones and lost everything they had. And we're like,
right.
I'm like, so my thing is, but we also knew this too, in terms of when you look at Alameda, Pacific, Alice, Pacific Palisades, Altadena,
Pasadena, Pacific Palisades.
And it's like, man, the first thing I'm going through my mind is, dog. I'm like, what's that shit gonna be once they rezone that shit and they start building on it?
Right.
That's in destination right there. That's what their overall game. They just needed a good excuse to do it.
Right. So I used to be with Dr. Sabi, and I was doing my research back in the days, and I was like, Sabi, man, at the pace black folks is going right now of selling their houses here in LA, being pushed out of LA, Compton area, I say, man, by 2022, 23 or something, it ain't gonna be no more black folks in California at the pace people selling. And then my boy said, no, man, they already set that up. It's called Vision 2020. So by 2020, all the black folks are gonna be out of LA. So, oh yeah, that's what the plan was, but we've been pushing back to stop that. So you'll see things like where I've been telling people don't sell. And then our good brother Nip lost his life behind that, telling people don't sell.
Yeah.
And he's building this up, and he's doing this, and he's doing all of that. Nip was attracting so many wealthy people to the wealthiest black community in America and telling them he's over here doing this. He just bought the marathon. He's finna do that. So now here come all the rest of these successful people. And now he's telling people don't buy in he's telling people to buy in the most gentrified city in America. They want that black community. So for example, now you got like that big U conversation going on in the news, talking about all them injunctions and them gang injunctions and whatever they doing on them, right?
Right.
That ain't what we think it is, y'all. I mean, a lot of that stuff probably true, but the reality is that's a real estate play right there, because Big U and Nipsey Hussle and all them live in the wealthiest black community in America.
Yeah.
Ladera Heights, Baldwin Hills, and View Park, that's the wealthiest cities in black America. You feel me? Those are the wealthiest black communities in America. So if we rewind history and look over to Venice Beach, California, we'll see that was a beachfront black community in California. First one and the only one that we knew about. And how did they get the people out of there? Gang injunctions. They said all of these gang members live over here in Venice Beach. So we're going to start raiding those houses and get rid of all the gangs out of Venice Beach. And they start raiding black people's houses that didn't even have children, saying this is the house where gang members live. And they just started destroying people's houses to the point that black people realized they don't want us over here no more. They're talking about all the gang members and they're just raiding everybody's houses. So that's exactly the plan for what they're going to do in over there. That's why they're taking all these gang members. They're going to try to take down the Rolling 60s Crip is one of the biggest gangs, meaning all the Rolling 60s, they ain't like men you thinking is like, oh man, they ain't got their mothers and fathers and all of that. Dude, their parents got money most likely. I call them, that's the rich kid gang. You feel me? I be looking at them cats like, and you gang bang for what? You know what I'm saying? Your mama got a $2 million house. You the heir to the throne. How about that? If the son is an heir to the throne of a $5 million house in View Park or Ladera Heights or something, and he goes to jail, where the money gonna come from to get him out?
His parents gonna put it up to get him out.
They gonna tap into that wealth in that house that these white folks been trying to buy. Yeah. They've been, if you look at all them gang members that's probably in jail right now, and you really start running, if you knew somehow how to find out where they lived at, and you start running the real estate prices and see who owns what, which of their parents own what and got what, you'll be like, damn.
Perfect segue, TJ. You're from where, as we know, in terms of where it all started, Blood, Crip, and Piru in Compton. This is where it all started. Right. As well as your extensive, expansive, and incredible knowledge in terms of autos, business, and being an accomplished author, you're also a music head as well. And you also know how this game works in terms of presentation and production in the industry. When we look at the street element of it, in terms of especially gang affiliation specifically, this has been a situation for a lot of years where it seems to where at one point where gang, if you were from California, especially with the rise of gangster / reality rap came in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, you knew where a lot of those guys were from in terms of songs and even looking at their record covers. And it was kind of clandestine, but if you were from there, you knew where they represented. Like NWA represented Kelly Park, Easy and Ren. They're from Kelly Park. You know, of course, you know, DJ Quick, you know, he's Treetop. You know, there were so many. Compton's Most Wanted, Tragnew, MC8, and all of them. But it was something that wasn't put out there like that. Now we have artists who are not only openly flaunting their gang affiliations, but a lot of people who were never involved in it, trying to claim a set. What is your opinion of where it's gone today from not only a musical perspective, but an image perspective?
Well, where it's going today is we don't approve of. The original Compton people who paid for hip hop, we don't approve of the way it went.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Where it's at. We're embarrassed by that. That's why I go hard to restore Compton, to show us positive imagery of Compton.
Right.
So
right.
The people, I believe, years ago, I told one of my homeboys, he said, TJ, you ain't putting in no work in the hood. You ain't over here putting no work in. And I answered with a slick answer. And I said, I can't pick up a check every month, every Friday. So why would I go over there and risk my life and I ain't getting paid? So 20-some years later, my homeboy came back to me and said, TJ, we getting paid now. I said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, we getting paid to be gangbangers. So now you'll see the homies sitting there doing all these rap videos. They didn't weaponize this rap against us and turned around and telling people the biggest money people are going to be the ones that rap about gang violence. The ones that wearing red and got red lowriders and red this and red that and gang banging Crips and all that stuff. Those are the people that's making all the money right now. And it's not like the music is great. It's just that's what the powers that be. Because let me tell you the economic effects of that rap. The economic effects of that is when it's known that you live in a gang affiliated neighborhood. When I'm running an appraisal on your house and you saying you live in the wealthiest black community in America, and I run that appraisal, I'm gonna be like, oh, well, it says here this is the biggest gang neighborhood in America, so I can't give you $1 million for your house that's worth $1 million because you got too many gangs. You're on the gang map. You see what I'm saying? So that keeps property values down. So I don't like that whole gang perspective. You know what I'm saying? It limits us as a people. We can't get regular grocery stores and stuff like that here because of the fear of they may be robbed or something, you know? But that's all they play. If they can keep the prices down, then they don't have to pay us for the houses, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's that whole stigma. Yeah,
it's a stigma. You know, it comes up when you do an appraisal. It's don't come up that someone was murdered at the corner last Friday. It's gonna come up that that house was shot up around the corner. It's gonna come up, and that's gonna affect your evaluation of your appraisal. You see what I'm saying? So I don't dig the gang violence. Just like when I turned around and opened up my lowrider shop, want to get a lowrider shop. I wanted to know. I found out insurance is based on what area are you putting your shop in. So as soon as I put Compton, boom, insurance through the roof. As soon as I put Watts, insurance through the roof. Put LA, insurance through the roof. Anywhere black neighborhoods at, the insurance is high because of the gang activity. But as soon as I put a white neighborhood, the insurance was low.
And see, a lot of times that's where we look at the art of it and then we look at the actual business of it, because we can always appreciate the art. But when you're looking at how it really affects real-time business in terms of, like King said, the stigma, like you said, where the labels are placed on it. When you look at a lot of those movies, when you look at a lot of stuff, you know, you begin to understand the play, because when you drive, you know, when the property value is driven down because there's a lot of crime or what have you, that's where the land grab comes.
Right.
You know, but then that's when they can make the premiums high because they can say this is a high risk area. This is a liability if you're doing this here. And a lot of people don't understand it. When we look at the music, especially from the streets of it, there was always an authenticity that while it may have not been pretty, it was real. And I think that's where we see a lot of the game today, where it's been contaminated because a lot of these artists we see out there, we're not going to say it on air. You know, that's not what Off the Cuff Radio does. We're not a tabloid outfit. But we know people off air. We've talked to people who have told us about who's really real out there in the streets and who really isn't. You know? Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
You know, that trips me out because that puts me, all of this nonsense going on with this gang stuff, it puts me in a bad situation being an authentic Comptonian. You feel me? Being that I was really born and raised here. You know, so when I'm out of town, you got so many fake people that say, "Oh, I'm from Compton," and then I'll be like, "Oh, really?" You know, now I'm excited, like, "Oh, wow, shit, he probably know my homeboy or something," you know. And then I say, "What neighborhood?" And then they kind of hesitate a little bit. "Oh, I'm from such and such neighborhood." Oh, because you know normally that's not the question they ask you when you say you're from Compton. It's like, "Oh, wow, y'all Eazy-E, NWA, okay." But when it's a real Comptonian, I'm gonna ask you what neighborhood, what street. And when you start hesitating, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, what street? Oh, you from that neighborhood? Well, you know my homeboy King. You know my homeboy T-Max or something. And then they go, you know, then I start looking at the face. Now you got a room full of people standing around us and said, "This is the OG from Compton, TJ. You should know him." And I'm like, I don't know him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know him. Well, he's OG for the last 10 years, and here he's been OG. And I'm like, when I don't know him, that make him look stupid. How, you know what I'm saying? So now that I asked him what neighborhood, he gives me the neighborhood. I'm like, hold on, let me call the OG. I don't know who you are, but let me call the homeboy OG such and such. And next thing you know, he ready to leave. Now he's pissed off at me because I didn't bust up his 13-year scam that he been running on people. You feel me? And it's like, dude, I didn't intentionally do that. He lied, said he from Compton, or everybody in the room said he from Compton. Feel me? So
I mean, it's a lot to it, like you said. I'm born and raised in Virginia, and I know a lot about the history out there. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the founder, Griffin Compton. Griffin, I think his name was Griffin Compton. He was actually from Virginia, and he moved out west. It's a lot of history. With it. And when you talk about the streets, when you talk about Wilmington and Brazil, when you talk about Piru Street, you know, this is, if you really, I've always said this, either you have studied it, you've lived there, or you know people from there that have given you the real history behind it. There's no in between those three outlets. But like you said, Compton is a brand that is recognized worldwide in terms of what is brought from the music and street culture. And to be able to claim it, if you are authentic, that says something in itself. But, you know, but go ahead.
No, I don't want you to finish, bro. I didn't mean that.
No, just saying, but but the thing is, that's a lot of weight behind that name that you need to be strong in how you carry it and be convicted in your stances of how you handle that with integrity and authority. You know, that's not light work. We respect it out there.
You know, it's like, a lot of people know Compton history. They know a lot about it. They can name off all the, no disrespect to anybody, by the way. I'm just telling it how it is, you know. A lot of people know people's names. Like, for example, when I found a guy by the name of Young Hall, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing my lowrider stuff, you know, and I met this dude named Young Hawk. He would videotape with the VHS camera all the lowriders, right? So he would sell his tapes every Sunday on Crenshaw, and he would probably bring about 200-300 tapes with him. And he would videotape the guys, hopping on Crenshaw, arguing, you know, catch us in our finest time, arguing back and forth, fighting, arguing over $1. Whoever jump higher than me, you're gonna have to pay that $1, you know what I mean, or whatever. So I saw that and I said, "Ooh, I could put that in Lowrider Magazine." You see what I'm saying? I could put that in my ad in Lowrider Magazine, and run commercials with that guy instead of me trying to be in Lowrider magazine. So when I did that, the whole world changed because now the book, the VHS tapes that he was selling is not just sold on Crenshaw no more. They sold globally around the world. So I remember the social effects of that was crazy because now where it was only blacks on Crenshaw, the Bloods and the Crips, now all of a sudden we got Hispanics community showing up on Crenshaw because they didn't see the Young Hog video. Now all of a sudden I got guys from Wisconsin and Tennessee and Georgia and Atlanta like yourselves calling me, asking me about what's up with Big Punchy, man. Did he fix his car? And I'm looking at my phone like, damn, I thought it said North Virginia on the phone. This is a Virginia number. What do you know about Punchy? And my brother's like, he'd been watching the videos. I'm like, oh. So them videos made the world famous. And now you got people who call me talk about like they're on the first name basis. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, Big Gangster, yeah, man. You know, Bebop Momo was the man out there. And then I'm looking at him like, oh, you know his mama? So now they tested me. People tested me. Like somebody ran a test on me the other day. They was like, yeah, Bebop Mom's had this kind of lowrider. And I said, man, she used to do my Jerry curls. And the dude looked like, oh, you really do know her. Like, Moms used to do people's Jerry curls. For you to know that, you were an OG original because she stopped doing Jerry curls in 87. You know, I mean, in 94, you know, for example, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just a credit check. So it's just questions I ask when people say I'm from Compton. So I can tell the difference between
they get a little nervous.
You said what?
They be getting nervous once you put that test on them and they can't pass it like a SAT, man.
Yeah. Like matter of fact, there's somebody else, a popular speaker that's running around the country telling everybody he grew up in Compton. He from Compton, you know what I'm saying? And he worked with the gangs. And I'm like, really? Because I thought, you know, so people always tell me, oh man, you know him. I'm like, actually, I don't. You said you stopped the gang. You said you was a part of the gang stuff, the truth, and you did all of that. I'm like, I sure did, and I got pictures. You know what I'm saying? But that person may be talking about, oh, he did the truth and Snoop Dogg came out. I said that wasn't a gang truth. That was a press conference. We didn't have no press conference. We just stopped it. We worked together, and we was on Crenshaw when all that happened. You know what I'm saying? We was over in this neighborhood and that neighborhood. So now people come asking me, do I know him? I'm like, no, I don't know him. So I asked them, did he tell you what street he grew up on? What neighborhood did he grow up on? They said, we didn't even think to ask him that.
Right.
He just said he from Compton. I said, well, from now on out, everybody tell you they from Compton. You ask them what street they on. You ask them what neighborhood they grew up in, and then you ask me that question because I need to know. Because if he did, I'm gonna call him, check his license plate and see where it comes back at. You know what I'm saying? We calling and checking the license plate, like, hey, homie, it says here. They don't know you, you know. And it's a lot of that. It's a few people that they lying getting busted out, and it's not intentional. It's no disrespect to anybody. It's just all these lies come back to the light. You feel me?
Right.
So they put themselves in a situation that can be dangerous because people respect people telling them I'm from Compton. I'm an OG from Compton. You know who I am. And I don't tell nobody I'm an OG, but when they call and credit check me, they can get them in trouble. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's like, wait a minute, what you know TJ out there? You know, let me holler at him right now. You know, they got to make sure it's really TJ because there's a lot of people who pretend to be TJ, if that makes sense. You know.
No, and that's always something when you're in the game, and we can say this too in celebrity life because you are one and a well-respected one at that. Affiliations are always affiliations and cosigns are key in the industry, whether on the street or in the music industry, because it shows that somebody. How do I word this? There's a certain level of authenticity you have that is from being around somebody, but it doesn't mean you are authentic. But you can get that authenticity aura from being around someone. But when the authenticity, the real part of it comes when these people know you, they've been around you through thick and thin, ups and downs. They know who your character is, and they can vouch for you in real situations. you've seen this as well as we have seen this in the industry, that a lot of people claim to have allegiances with people, that they know these people, this, that, and the other. I'm not going to say, well, I guess I can say it as long as I don't say the name. There was a situation with Big Meech, where there was a situation where there was somebody that, you know, it had gone out there that, you know, said they knew him, this, that, and the other. And obviously people we knew, they know Meech personally. And they asked Meech, did he know this person? And Meech said, I don't know this person. You know? But that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's real, and that can be very dangerous. You know, I don't glorify this whole I'm from Compton, gangbang, none of that. I don't glorify any of that, but it's become very political. And by me traveling, I tell people I'm from Compton just to make a point to the kids, saying, "Hey, look at me. I came from where you came from, and I made it, so you can make it too." You feel me?
Right.
So they always, where you from, where you grow up at? Because they looking at, most people that get put in front of the kids got on a suit and tie, and now the kids, they talking about college, and now the kids don't want to listen. You know what I'm saying? Talking about, you don't understand where we growing up, what we going through. Nigga, I'm from the projects. You don't know what we going through. So now I got to tell them I'm from the concrete jungle. I'm from Compton, man, and I know what you're going through. They be like, oh wow, yeah, he know what we going through. Let's listen to him. You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm telling people I'm from Compton. But to be out there trying to just like, the rappers, no. Real cats don't got to tell who they are. People know who they are. It's like one day I was doing an interview. I was in Philly on, what was it called? Big Bad Radio or something. And I'm being interviewed. And then the brother was talking, and the stuff I was talking about, he just listening to the conversation. He go, wait a minute. You OG such and such from Compton. You did. I had my real estate book. I'm out there like, yeah, gentrification. We got to stop it. And dude, look, he looking at me and he listening to the story. And he said, you from Compton? I said, yeah. He said, did you build lowriders? I said, yeah, he used to build lowriders and all that. Oh, you OG such, blah, blah, blah. I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, that ain't what I mean. I ain't that guy. I'm not out here trying to do that, but they like that. They liked it and they heard that I played a pivotal role in that East Coast, West Coast stuff that was going on, and they wanted to talk about it, but I didn't. You feel me? So it's like I don't want none of that type of energy, man. I'm here to teach and educate, and I tell people I'm from Compton based on the fact that I want the respect enough that you're gonna listen to the stuff I got to say, because people need to hear some of this stuff so they can learn something and pivot their lives and their communities and do it as well,
When did you fall in love with lowriding culture growing up in Compton?
Shit, man, I was in love with lowriding when I was 7, 8 years old, looking at lowriders pass by the house when my mom wouldn't even let me out the gate. I'm sitting there looking through the gate like, when I get old enough, it's gonna be my time, and I'm gonna do this lowrider thing. I want one.
He's like, that's my car. That's my car.
That's my car. Oh, that's my car. I like the red one. I like the green one. I want the one with no top on it, the one with it be jumping all the time. I want one of them, And then when I first met my homeboy named Cap, rest in peace, and he put me inside of a lowrider, man, that was like a dream come true. You know what I'm saying? Dropped us off at middle school, man, please. Who you talking to? I jumped up and got out that lowrider, man, and walked into my classroom. It was like I was a rock star. You feel me? Car, I pull up, the car goes, lay on the ground, and that door opened up, and I got out. It was like, I'm on the red carpet. Who you talking about? Hey, man, shit. Hey, getting picked up from Vanguard or Centennial and lowrider, man, please. I knew this was something that I wanted to do, and I was going to not stop it till I was, got to do it. But here I go, my homies over there working on lowriders, Gary May, Terry Carter, Homer
Rest in
Walker.
peace, Terry.
Yeah, rest in peace, Terry, for real, Terry was a major influence, dude. When I was a kid in high school, junior high school, this cat had a Rolls Royce Corniche convertible. You feel me?
Ooh.
So this dude, I'm like, man, barely I'm taking driving lessons, and this cat out here with low Rolls Royces and lowriders. You know what I'm saying? Putting rappers and lowriders, taking pictures and videos. You know, he had Mac 10 and all these different cats back in the days, and way before then, there was other rappers would come into his shop, and he was putting them in all these videos and Straight Up Friday and all them video movies and stuff. You know, but man, I'm telling you, I knew back then, right then and there, when I seen it going by my mama's house, I really wanted that, dude. You know, I really wanted a lowrider because it stood out. Outside like a big Blazer, K5 Blazer convertibles with the top off. Oh
man,
kidding me? Got the graphics down the side, and I hear them coming from 5 miles away, and I gotta stand there and wait to see who's finna come by and hit the corner. I've been listening to for the last 5 minutes, bumping, and they kept getting louder and louder as they go. And finally, it's sitting at the light right there, and this dude got the rag Blazer with graphics down the side and the naked lady on the side, on the back door or whatever, you know what I'm saying, or had his name on the side. I said, man, I got to get me one of them Blazers. I got to get an El Camino, and I want one of them bouncy cars, you know what I'm saying?
Man, memory lane. 2 questions, TJ. Your first project car, and without naming names, how much was the most expensive lowrider you ever did for somebody?
Well, but I came out in 89. I'm sorry. When did I get out of lowriding? 2009, I came out of lowriding. So at that point, cars was worth about 100 some thousand for the top cars, right?
Right.
So I sold a few cars. I remember the first car I sold for 105,000. I was scared to tell people. You know what I'm saying? That was a lot of bread back then. Oh man, yeah. I got 105,000, man, you kidding me? I not only look at the most expensive car, I looked at the volume of cars I built. I had a basketball player who dropped off like 4 or 5 cars. It was 3 or 4 cars for me to restore. And that was a very large ticket right there by itself.
Yeah.
Talking about like close to 100,000 per car. Excuse me. Then you said, what was the first question? What was
what was your first project car when you got in the low ride in terms of the first car you did?
I always say that rag tray. You know what I'm saying? I had a rag tray I was building that I never drove, man. That was the $105,000 car. I had a rag tray with chrome suspension under it, except for the rear end.
Ooh.
Yeah, how about this? Except for the rear end, because I was scared to take the rear end apart, because nobody had done that yet, you know? And that was expensive to take it apart. So I said, well, just chrome everything else and put the chrome barb under there. So I sold that for a bunch of money, but the rag tray, I never got to drive it. I just pulled it out, bagged out, and pulled up, and it was on the tow truck going to the ship. You know, but the first car I built for a customer out of my shop, legitimately, with a business license, was a Cadillac for a brother out of Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? So I sold that car. I made some great money off of that. And that's about the time I decided, let me go on, start my shop, restoring these cars myself and, you know, build them myself. So that was like that, though, yeah.
What's usually the turnaround time? Because obviously you treat this like home cooking, and you want to make sure that all the ingredients come together to make it taste good and look good. What's the usual time for your meticulous eye for detail and impeccable craftsmanship? How long does it normally take to do one?
Well, back in the days when I was building cars, I was turning cars around in 3 months. You see what I'm saying? And if I had a car over 3 months, I started feeling really uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like, something ain't right. I got to go back here and crack the whip on these guys. You know what I'm saying? Y'all BS right. Get it done. You know, I didn't been in paint shops and fired on the painter. You know
oh Lord.
I didn't threaten the painter. I didn't fired on the chrome plater before. Got into it with people, man. That was like gang banging, putting these cars together, man. Because I'm like, look, you told me I drop off 100 pieces to be chrome, and he give me back 80 pieces. You feel me? Then he said he'll have the other 20 for me next week. So I dropped off another 75 pieces, and now next week I come, and he only got 5 pieces, but he told me he was gonna have all 20. And then he said he already gave them to me. So when you ain't dealing with stuff like that, you can turn it around in 3 months. But here's the problem now. Now, because everybody wants to be a business owner, and they got tired of sitting back and looking at cats collecting all this money, and they were doing all the work. Now they're turning around and quitting and going to start their own business. So now you got people, we call it paint prison, and I had a homeboy say it took 7 years to paint his car.
Damn.
His car. So it's normal to have a car for 3 years. So that's why they're trying to get me to get back into it. So I've been thinking about it. Matter of fact, if somebody want to bring me a car that makes sense, I'll build it, because I can do everything. See, that's the difference. You got guys that say they build cars, but they send everything out. I send it out for this, send it out for that. And the main thing that goes out is the paint. But because I know how to do the paint and I know how to do welding and bodywork stuff, I can do all the stuff myself. So if you gave me a year to build your car, I'd build it myself. I wouldn't really need no help, if that makes sense. Just build 2 or 3 cars at one time. You feel me?
You know who you need to link with, right? And he from up Northern Cali. You know who you need to link with?
Who that?
Cookie Money.
Not familiar.
You need to Cookie Money's from East Oakland, and he's just as much of a car nut as you are. You and him would do some great work together.
Yeah, I might have to make the connect.
Go on his page, Cookie Money. That dude, that young boy out there is certified with all the OGs out in East Oakland, man. He's for real with it, but he loves cars. You and him need to connect, and you and Currency need to connect too down in New Orleans if you ain't met him already, and you probably have.
You know what's funny? I haven't met him, but that's my people's homeboy. They deal with all the rappers. But what was funny was I was in New Orleans not too long ago, probably before COVID actually, and I'm riding around and I was looking to buy a house out there. I wanted a house on the ocean, you know what I'm saying? And I'm riding through this neighborhood, and I see all these lowriders in the yard, and I seen a Ferrari or a Bentley in the yard.
That was his house. That was his house.
And then it took me about maybe 2 months later, I was watching TV and I saw a video, and I said, "Oh, that looked like that dude, that house I saw. Oh, them the same cars." It was Currency's house.
Yeah.
I ran across his house, but I ain't never met the brother that I know of. Man. And I meet a lot of people that I don't know who they are and don't really care, to be honest with you. Don't take that the wrong way, man.
No, that dude's I got hip to Currency about a good 20 years ago. It was about 15 years ago that I saw that dude's car fetish, as ridiculous as it is. I mean, that dude has cars like niggas got tennis shoes.
Man, see, that's the good part. That's what I teach people about growing up. I mean, about the business. You know, people look at me like, "Oh, them car guys ain't making money." So I got to give the social and economic effects of the low riding industry. Meaning, because I'm what you call a master car builder, I can build anything from a '57 Chevy to a Lamborghini. You feel me? So people like that. Why can I do that is because my clients would have me do that. So the same guy who got a $300,000 '57 Bel Air convertible, he also got a Rolls Royce, a Bentley. You feel me?
Right.
So he pulling up to pick up his '57 and tell me, "TJ, my such and such, I gotta go to the Bentley dealer." And I'm like, "Well, he said, "Can you look at it? What do you think?" Because he saw me take that '57 apart and had all them wire harnesses over my shoulder, and before he know it, he was inside of the car. And he like, "This dude know his stuff. What you think about my Bentley or whatever?" And I go over there and figured out what's wrong with it and fixed it. So that's a whole nother story, meaning I can take that Bentley apart and paint it. He may say, "TJ," I got people that came to me before and said, "TJ, I want all my Bentley, my Ferrari, my '57 rag, my '59 rag, and my Dodge Daytona. I want them all the same color. And I want the same Gucci interior and all of them. I want the alligator seats and all of them. And I got to take all of them apart and put them all back together." You feel me?
It's just nuts and bolts. There's a lot of times it's just nuts and bolts. You just have to
car. Yeah. It don't matter what it costs. You know, I'm going to have to charge you more because if I break something on the Bentley or the Ferrari, I got to go to the Ferrari dealership.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not paying for it. You paying for it, you know? But it's just a car to me. And that's what I tell people. Don't get hyped up about what kind of car it is. Get hyped up about what you're going to charge them. You feel me? Make sure you get your money. So my point is, a lot of celebrities like Currency and Rick Ross and all these different people, they keep people like me around. They need celebrity mechanics. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a celebrity car builder. So people like me, they come to me and say, here goes a blank check. How much would you charge me to take care of my fleet? You feel me?
Mm.
So they'll say, I got Rolls Royces, I got Ferraris, I got Lamborghinis, I got Dodge Chargers. I want to take my Charger and chop it down from a 4-door to a 2-door or something crazy, stuff like that. I need all that done. I'll be like, okay, cool, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? I want everything candy burgundy with Louis Vuitton seats or something stupid, something crazy, and that would be my job. You know what I'm saying? Because when's the last time you saw Jay-Z at the car dealership buying parts? You feel me?
Man, look, the last time I saw Jay-Z buy a car, it was that sailboat Bentley, and that thing, oh my God, ooh.
Yeah, you don't necessarily see them kind of cats at places. When last time you seen them getting an oil change or something, you know?
Man, look, and it's funny because when you have a lot of those guys who are car enthusiasts like yourself, Currency and Cookie Money, I think Currency and Cookie Money both own car detail shops and customization shops as well. You know, so it's important in terms of understanding not only what you drive, especially in my job. I tell the customers, it's not only important to know what you're driving, but how to take care of it when it breaks down, because it will break down.
For sure.
And
For
you
sure.
do have to.
Somebody.
Yeah.
You need somebody that can fix it reasonably.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just as much as changing a battery or just putting headlights in. You know, you take it to a dealer, they're gonna charge you. Some dealers, they're gonna charge you an hourly in the garage. You know, some of them, they're gonna hit you over the head like 500%. You know, where I show them, this is where this goes. This is what you can do with this, and you know, you can do this yourself and save yourself a lot of time and money. You know,
right?
But that's the literacy of automobile work that people need to be fluent in, because there is no greater gratification of knowing that you can do some things for yourself. You don't necessarily have to do everything, but if there are certain things that you do not know, at least know what the work is involved. That way you know how to properly appraise and understand what people are asking for when you're paying for a job to be done. You don't want to get price gouged. Always stay, you know, priced up in terms of that education of it.
You know, and I'm thankful and gratitude for my knowledge, for my coaches that was around me, the Gary Mays, the Terry Carters, the Ernest Houses, the Robert Clausels, the Homer Walters, I mean, it's so many people, you know, my boy Big Rat, you know, Elbow, where I could just pick up the phone and be like, man, I got a 2025 Lincoln over here. How do I take the frame out from under this? And then they're going to immediately break it down. Oh, you got to disconnect the radiator, but first, before you do that, you got to turn off this. You know what I'm saying? Make sure the air ride is turned off because of that. And then they can tell me over the phone, or they say, just come up here, or I'm going to come over there and show you how to do it, because you got to be careful with that one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like being able to have that kind of power that I can call and ask those kind of questions, because if I can't do it, if a person can't do that, they can lose out on a $400,000 deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So having that kind of friendships and relationships, man, like the other day, like, man, I was looking at my nephew, matter of fact. You know, it's crazy. I watched my nephew come to my shop as a kid, these 9 and 10-year-olds. We went from sit your ass down and move and put that back. Don't touch nothing, to now I'm calling them cats. They got their own shop out in Vegas, and I'm calling him, asking him, how, no, I'm in Vegas. I'm like, how the hell you get that 2018 Cadillac CTS interior inside that Monte Carlo SS? You know what I'm saying? He like, all you had to do was this, all you got to do, oh, look, you know, I'm like, wow. I used to tell them, sit his ass down, don't touch nothing. Now I'm sitting down, not touching nothing, looking. Like, you know? Like, man, like, how did you line that dashboard up in here? Did you have to cut this down? And it blows my mind to see the level of knowledge them guys got. And they say, man, you the one taught us all this stuff. I ain't tell you how to take no damn dashboard out no 2025.
But that's the empowerment in terms of exposure, because if they're around you, there's an intrinsic link of what they observe and what they are able to exercise from what they have learned in that.
Took it to another level. Took it to another level.
That is an art. That is an art that cannot be stressed enough in the invaluable pricelessness of it, because all wisdom is golden, because anything you have knowledge of is a plus, where it's a minus if there's a deficiency. So that's always an asset in that.
You know what?
Yeah, guys, we gotta. I think we gotta wrap it up a bit shortly because we hit the 11 o'clock mark. Man, this 2 hours blaze.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And we need to have you back on for part 2.
Hey, whenever y'all ready, family. Whenever y'all ready, man. Look me up again if y'all want to support. You know, you want to take some of them online classes, you can go to gentrification.com. Get yourself a copy of that book. Please follow me on YouTube at TJ Loftin, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You know what I'm saying? And order your copy of that book, or go on there and take you one of them classes. You know what I'm saying? On my gentrification website, because this real estate is serious, y'all. Or if you need to call me for coaching, or to come out, you'd like to book me to come out and speak in your city, your state, or your country, you know, reach out to me and let's make something. Go on my website, gentrification.com. And let's
Absolutely. Once again, BC, thank you for this connect.
Shout out to
DJ.
Big D.
Yes.
Shout out to D. Both of them.
Man,
B
look,
and D.
shout out to D. Look, shout out to the whole mob, everybody in Compton, City of Champions.
Right.
Off the Cuff Radio. We thank you so much. This has been
Shout
so
out to
light,
Off
so
the Cuff.
educational. Yes, and incredible. Thank you again. Thank you again.
Man,
thank you
salute
again.
to you, man.
Shout out to Thomas and my brother right here. I appreciate y'all, King. Shout out to King, y'all. Get them, follow them. My followers, please follow these two brothers and put them in circulation. Share. If you
D-Max
care,
the
please
VA
share.
for my IG, and King Air Productions for my brother, and Off the Cuff Radio for the page. That's all of our social media right there. So once again, man, thank you
for joining us. We'll be back on in due time, man. So salute to you, man. We definitely gonna follow and keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Appreciate y'all. Much love, much success, y'all.
Absolutely.
All right.
Peace. Thank you again. We out.
Peace.